It's time now for a look through the papers, and for that I'm joined in the studio by Deepti Laurent. Hi, Deepti.
Hi, Haxi.
Very soon, French MPs are going to be discussing an important bill here on migration. But in the meantime, a lot of focus on child migrants in the papers.
Yeah, that's right. In particular for La Croix, the French Catholic paper, their headline today reads, child migrants between dreams and realities. And on the front here is Bashir, a 16-year-old boy from Cameroon who's in Tunisia and hoping to reach Europe. His T-shirt here, as you can see, emblazoned with Paris, sort of a cruel irony of the plight that he's taking. And that photo is actually has been taken by photographer Leila Hamami. There's another boy, also the focus of La Croix's coverage today on this topic. This boy here, Saliou, who La Croix's journalists actually met in a suburb of the Senegalese capital, Dakar. He's just 11 years old. His mom fled to the Canary Islands, and he himself is hoping to make a clandestine trip next summer by himself. According to La Croix, 42,000 asylum requests were filed in Europe last year by non-accompanied minors. And as you'll note from La Croix's reports, the number of minors taking or attempting to make this perilous journey to Europe by crossing the Mediterranean is continuing to increase. This as child protection systems are already saturated. According to the French Justice Ministry, nearly 15,000 young migrants were recorded last year. That itself was a jump of 30% from the previous year, and that number is set to increase once again this year in this year's figures.
And Deepti, immigration is also at the heart of a number of British papers today over an emergency bill that's being discussed there.
Yeah, and this bill really tearing apart politicians. It's making the front pages today. This immigration bill even prompted the immigration minister, Robert Jenrick, to quit over his deep discord with the bill, which proposes giving ministers powers to disregard sections of the UK's Human Rights Act and European Council for Human Rights when it comes to considering deportation cases. The bill, under previous agreements, would send illegal immigrants to Rwanda in a very hotly contested agreement with Rwanda that was considered a safe space. According to Jenrick, the minister, the bill didn't go far enough in tackling the issue, and that was a reason for him deciding to quit his role as immigration minister.
Well, meanwhile, in the United States, the fourth Republican primary debate took place, and as usual, it was marked by a fair bit of mudslinging, Deepti.
Yeah, mudslinging and controversy. Once again, the Republican candidate, primary candidate hopefuls hashed it out with each other, with one glaring absence, of course, Donald Trump, who was not present. He was the focus of a lot of the issues they discussed. Nikki Haley, this time cementing her status as the leader of the second-tier candidates. That's what the Washington Post says in this article today. She was the one who came under attack from all sides, notably from Vivek Ramaswamy, who at one point held up a sign saying that she was simply corrupt, and even belittled her by saying that his 3-year-old could help her identify Israel and the U.S. on a map. His performance earned him the moniker of America's most obnoxious blowhard by Christie. All in all, a lot of mudslinging, but very little actual policy discussion. The Washington Post really deploring what it calls another squandered chance to debate Donald Trump's threats, saying instead that the man who wasn't there came out as a real winner of the debate. This is from the National Review. Haxi, it's a conservative U.S. magazine which calls it a desperate debate that ends in a draw. Essentially, the writer says, depending on which side of, depending on how you see the candidates, they either came out as winners or losers. For instance, if you like Nikki Haley, then you'll appreciate the fact that she remained really stoic under all the attacks that she endured. But if you're not a fan of her, then you'll find that she was very weak on many topics, including the topic of therapeutic treatment for transgender people. So Wednesday's debate for viewers was a, quote, choose your own adventure debate, it says.
And Deepti, the French paper Le Monde today has published an interesting article on the moral dilemma about watching the news, or indeed not watching the news, as the case may be.
Yeah, it is indeed a moral dilemma, Haxi. Should we continue watching the news despite it being acutely more violent, particularly nowadays with the war in Gaza, the kind of images that we're seeing on a constant basis, or should we just sort of turn off our news sources and be content, blissfully unaware of the major events taking place in the world? It's a question that no doubt a lot of people are asking these days, particularly as we are more and more exposed to very violent images through social media. Ultimately, Le Monde says the most important thing is to sort of sort out what needs your attention and for how long, sort out the important information from the superfluous information. But Le Monde admits it's not easy because we are in this sort of cycle where our attention, our indignation, our anger, our empathy are constantly demanded through news sources. And so it is no easy feat to sort of turn it all off, but sometimes it might be the best solution.
Well, Dipti, the woman in our next story could certainly have benefited from a little more information gathering.
Yeah, that's right. This story is from Gizmodo Haxi. It reports that a 57-year-old woman, well, so this took place earlier this year, but the medical report came out recently. She went for an MRI earlier this year. She lied about carrying a gun on her during her MRI. Not sure why she thought she might have needed it, but that firearm went off. It was actually activated by the magnetic resonance imaging machine, i.e. the MRI machine. She ended up shooting herself in the butt. Patients are expressly told before an MRI not to bring in anything magnetic because the MRI machines are constantly on, and so it can kind of trigger a magnetic reaction. It appears she lied about carrying the gun, but thankfully her wound was superficial. It's not just guns, though. People have been seriously injured by wheelchairs, oxygen tanks, and yes, even metallic butt plugs, Haxi. In the MRI.
In the MRI, important to stipulate. Dipti Laurent with a look for the day's top stories in the international papers. Thank you very much.